Hello and welcome back to the Blizzard Arena here in Burbank, California. My name is Kevin Michael Johnson, and we have one more match to go here in Group A for the HGC Finals. We just saw Tempo Storm send the Deadly Kittens, the team from Southeast Asia, packing. Our first team falls from the tournament. However, Tempo Storm now has to go up against an opponent they fell to earlier today in a 2-0 victory. Can they hold it off against the team from China? Let's head on over to the analyst desk and hear what they think.
That's right. Thank you very much, Kevin. Back to official duties for me. I've the chain's back on. I'm back on the desk here as we continue things on the final series coming up in just a few moments' time. Tempo Storm going up against CE once again, but overall, Tempo Storm bringing out the Kerrigan and Kel'Thuzad to round that out. Kaldor, that was pretty impressive.
It was really well played, especially Psalm's performance on last map was absolutely stellar. It was really well done there. So I was pretty impressed by it, and I'm curious to see what they have now up their sleeves for the last match, since they already said this is the one that really matters for them compared to the earlier series against CE.
A really good point, because do they now go down the path of, like, we have more pocket picks, etc.? That could be a thing, Skimmy.
I mean, that's what Sam was saying in his interview, right? We don't want to reveal too much in that first series because we know we're going to go up against them again. So why just put all our strats to try and get out in the first stage? We might as well just save them for this do or die situation. I mean, I feel as if there were a few moments during that series against Deadly Kittens where the whole of NA were like, my heart is racing. What is Sam doing? And he pulls it off. I was a bit concerned about the Kerrigan, but they get the snowball lead, which you need with an all melee comp. Yeah, and it works.
Let's check in with the bracket before we check in with Wolf as well. Not forgotten about you, my friend, as we take a look at what's gone down so far. MVP Black, at the moment, has advanced on quite convincingly, to say the least. And now we have our rematch, CE versus Tempo Storm. Wolf, if history is to be a determined factor, sometimes we see the
repeat occurs here, and it's a different Tempo Storm. Obviously, we saw a different Tempo Storm against Deadly Kittens, but I think part of the reason why that worked so well was because it was very much a surprise factor, right? The picks were placed at the end. They were very intelligent in terms of how they wanted to draft it, and that surprise factor is now gone. So either you have to go back to how you played in the first series, where you lost 0-2, or you have to hope that CE also struggles against this more unusual style. So I'm a little bit worried for North America here.
The one thing that I want to really point out is that when we're talking about our current system, that strategy is going into these groups is incredibly important, and is oftentimes something that is forgotten about at the start. So if you have a clear favorite like MVP Black, every one of the teams already has to assess for themselves, do we have a chance of beating them without showing everything? Because if you're a team that actually has a chance to go to the finals at Blizzcon, you want to hide as much as you possibly can. And then you have to judge, okay, what do we have to invest to make a first seed happen in our group? Do we have the tools at this point? Or are we okay qualifying a second? And then you end up in that situation that Sam was talking about. Do we show everything in our first match and come out guns blazing? Or do we try to, for potential third map, hold a few things back? So we could really still see them with a few pocket strategies. Wolf talked about that they showed some already. The question remains, have they more up their sleeves? Because this is the moment where you have to show it. This is the match to the second for them that really matters. If you lose here, you're out.
Yeah, I think for Tempo Storm, you think about the history of this team when they made a name for themselves as Murloc Geniuses, eventually then picked up by Astral Authority. I think they're one of the last old guards of North America. The other two North American teams here are kind of new era. And I think that making it to BlizzCon, if it means you have to use your strategies here, you might not perform well at BlizzCon. You've got some time. I think you have to use everything you've got. You've got to use your last trump card here in this best of 3.
Well, let's focus on CE, because obviously they're a team that has beaten them 2-0 just today, but also going up against MVP Black. They were defeated 2-0, Skimmy, but it didn't look all hopes lost. There were still some moments there where CE looked strong.
I mean, there were moments of hope, really, I suppose you could say, but it just seemed a bit like they never really got off to the flying start thereafter. It was almost a case of turtle, potentially even a case of overthinking during the draft, of saying we need to try and outdraft MVP Black, which is extremely hard to do. I mean, MVP Black, traditionally speaking, have been one of those teams that value it and are one of the best to try and lead that front, but they tried to go for the globals. We know that's not what they're strong at. I'd love to see them just go back to basics and allow them to get that 2-0 like last time.
We saw a great focus on the supports from them as well, from CE. We saw things like that Lucio Rhaegar really come into play and be really strong.
Yeah, one of the things that I feel really distinguishes also CE from the previous opponent they had, the Deadly Kittens, is that with CE, with every single draft that we have, I feel there's a clear idea of what you're trying to execute. And usually the thought process. Everybody is on the same page in the fights. And it's a question, is our opponent stronger than us or weaker? And in the case against MVP Black, you could just say that execution was better on the side of the Koreans. But for example, as much as the Kittens have improved, there were still mistakes that were made. As for example, we've been talking a lot about the way that Lava Wave was used. You can argue if that's the better ult, but if you use it, there's several ways of how you can approach it to get max value. And they never really got that. So they had a little bit of asymmetry going into a lot of these fights. And I don't think that CE is going to make those same mistakes. So this is going to make it a lot tougher for Tempo Storm to get a victory.
I think that CE's focus on the supports is really intelligent because they've got two great support players, of course, in the double support meta, moving this player into the support role. And Lokhtar is not really disappointing on DPS. So if you draft support early and try to find the right DPS, I think that's the goal. And I think that's why they tried the Zul'jin. And I think it was a really cool experiment. Will they use that in this best of 3? I don't think so. But I think for Tempo Storm, they should focus on the fact that CE has already shown that supports are their mains.
Well, let's focus on Tempo Storm, of course, because I want to ask you guys, if you've been watching them throughout the day, what can Tempo Storm derive from what they played against when it came to CE? Because obviously, as you said, their supports were a big factor, but Lokhtar, as a DPS, was actually quite strong as well. Skimmy, your thoughts?
I mean, for me personally, I've seen Tempo Storm, they seem to have this really big love for Malthael. It seems to be either first picked or always guaranteed alongside the ETC, which, I mean, it's a fantastic pairing, as we've coined it, the Circle Squad of Mosh Pit as well as Tormented Souls. Yeah, it works well, but it seems a little bit one-dimensional so far. Yes, you can make the argument that they're not trying to show too much. They want to run a standard comp and try and get through with comfort picks. But as you mentioned, this is do or die right now. They can't allow anything to go through. They need to get through to Anaheim. And because they plan the first day, I mean, something to consider is they'll have the rest of the week to prep as a result of watching the rest of the groups.
Yeah, I think that if you want to go back to the Malthael, it's risky because it certainly didn't work last time, right? And I think in that best of 3, they probably learned this isn't going to work against Deadly Kittens, which is a totally different type of team that they clearly prepared for. They did something a little bit different. So, yeah, I think if you have a new strat, use it. Otherwise, try to play around the strengths of CE.
All right, well, let's check in with the cheers, see what's happening so far on our global progress. 25,735,000. Oh, no, it moved. I can't even continue. As you guys keep cheering at home, make sure to keep those rolling in for your favorite teams here, especially Tempo Storm or CE, as it could be their last opportunity here in the entirety of it, moving on to BlizzCon. Great system.
I actually feel that this is really the question that everyone had looking at the group. Is CE going to make it out? Is it going to be Tempo Storm?
Yeah.
Right now, even without looking at the first result, I actually would definitely still favor CE since I felt they were a lot stronger and more cohesive in the way that they present themselves, whereas Tempo Storm still struggled a bit. So Tempo has said, we have a little bit more up our sleeves. I'm curious. I love the Kerrigan. I think it was great.
Absolutely.
I loved also how with Kerrigan they changed up their playstyle. They became way more aggressive as they needed to with Kerrigan. So if they have a few more of these things in pedo for their opponent now, that could be a cool series. But overall, CE looked stronger.
And it felt like some of that fire from the past international events for Tempo Storm in the aggressive flair wasn't there until just now when we saw those games. So indeed, it's a very interesting thing to consider. Let's check in where we're going to be going for the battleground here for game at number 1, and it will be Warhead Junction.
All right.
Wow. Okay, I like that.
Well, they're already trying something different again. I mean, I think you really do have to do this. Basically play every strategy you've got now because, again, as Calder just mentioned, you're going to have time between now and BlizzCon proper.
Yes.
So if you get through this group, especially because this is the first day, you have so much time to prepare new strategies. And I think, you know, what they show us here is I'm excited to see it. Whether it'll work or not leaves, you know, we still have question marks there, but excited to see what they want to draft on this one.
I think a crucial area to discuss would be the fact of, does Abathur get through? Do Tempo Storm actually get to take Abathur on their side? Fantastic for the map. They want to play the global game. They like to play that defensive style, and you can bet your bottom dollar that CE want to force that fight, potentially the likes of an Illidan, or in this case, taking Dahaka straight away off.
Let's do it then. It's going to be the final series of the day. CE goes up against Tempo Storm into the draft. Let's go, Keldor.
Well, as we're talking about bans here, I just want to come back quickly to something that Wolf just said, because I want to stress that for our viewers back home. He said that after the day, you have a lot more time to prepare for like future opponents. The same is also true for the teams that are currently not playing. A lot of them have been starting scrimming at 9 o'clock in the morning and have a scrim schedule until 9 o'clock in the evening because they are trying to just find the best meta hybrids between what the Chinese teams bring to the table, what the Korean teams are currently using, and the Europeans. So whatever happens in the group stage right now, it's going to be a completely different ball game in Anaheim at Blizzcon itself. And that is going to happen for the teams that play today that will then adjust, and also for the teams that are currently watching this, trying to mirror that onto their own scrims and then see where do we have to adjust to make it even better.
And it's really cool that you make this point, because as Tempo Storm, if they can claw their way out of this best of 3, it's almost like you're throwing 2 curveballs, because you may, cause the teams that are preparing for you for the future think this is how you're going to play later, and then you don't play like this.
All the pros that are playing right now in scrims have on another monitor the stream,
yes,
and
they do.
Every single time they die, every single time they're in draft, they're flipping over, checking what happens, just to get a bit of an idea. What do the other teams actually play in the tournament compared to what they used against us in scrims? So just a bit of the mind games that we have for all the viewers at home, what's currently happening behind the scenes. In our game here on hand now, on the other hand, we have first pick on Brightwing, so already emphasizing the global and also the support for CE, as you pointed out, Colaris.
Yeah.
And then Oriel with double support, already thrown here by Tempo Storm. Not sure if that doesn't even worry me a little bit.
Yeah?
I'm usually not a biggest fan of the Valor Oriole on a big map like this. Usually I'm more opting for the sort of the macro gameplay, the idea of just taking camps, securing strong skirmishes so you can gather those nukes. We've seen past again, fights break out. You go for those big, strong pushes on those side lanes. You try and get a fort, you try and get a keep. You're trying to establish a lead pre-10.
Now, overall, I like Oriel Vala. I mean, it's obviously an insanely good comp. It just feels a bit too cookie-cutter clean for me right now. So I'm wondering what is going to be the spicy kicker here that makes this crazy comp.
Yeah, because you have to somehow now respond to the fact that Brightwing is going to be able to split push, split soak, whatever, what have you, teleport in. So the control of the objective is definitely in the hands of CE right now. In terms of forced team fights that need to happen, that's the edge that Tempo Storm has currently, but what will they bring to the table that's going to really affect this global? And right now, we don't know.
Now, there's 2 things that I could see. One is that you're trying to play basically what Fnatic has done at the mid-season brawl, and you're trying to push completely heavily with a 4-man, and you're trying to get value with that, while another hero is attempting to soak as much experience on the remaining 2 lanes. And with Vala as a first pick, another approach that you could take is that you are focusing heavily on boss control, and you're trying to take the camps here. Boss on this map is easily taken and insanely strong with a good push, so that might be something that Tempo Storm is going to attempt to do to get early momentum.
What I'm looking at here, though, with the idea of them going for the Tracer as well as the Tassadar, you've got the idea of, hey, phase shift can come in from Brightwing as well. That's a double shield. That's the ability to almost play, as you were discussing off air before, with the Genji. He swift strikes in. You've got the Emerald Wind as well as the shield on top. And, Tracer, Elufalo, he went for the untouchable. He wants to go for those kills. So a lot of protection for him. As
much as they banned Garrosh, what do you think about the kicker being Medivh?
Could be. What I think, I want to point out that this Zarya ban, it's obviously quite unusual in Asia to see this type of ban. This means that CE is going back towards that thought process that Kauder was talking about, hard pushing, having the protection for Pala. Very strong pusher is Zarya in the early game especially, so just ignoring the global and just forcing the global to come to you. I think that's a really smart ban. We are going to see Sonya committed to as the solo now. They pick up the Muradin. I'm still really favoring CE, though. They have Tracer, Tassadar, Brightwing, a very strong comp for the reasons Skimmy was just describing. And now that Tempo Storm has kind of shown a lot more here, they can just respond at the end of the day. Johanna is still a possibility here, against the Bala, obviously.
I'm still not too sold on this Johanna idea. I'm looking at Tempo Storm right now as their 5th and final pick. Abathur still screams at me. It's got this far through. I thought it was going to be such an influential pick on this. And it would allow them to then keep up with that global rotation that Brightwing is going to add on the side of CE. The final 2 picks, as you say, though, Johanna, it's an idea. They've run it before against MVP Black earlier today.
What about ETC?
Strong possibility. Yeah, the thing is, there's a lot of interrupt on the side of Tempo Storm, though. A lot. So Mosh Pit not going to be really a big factor. I like the Johanna and Illidan. So an extra pseudo-global with the Hunt and a strong solo lane there against Sonya. So I really am liking where CE is taking this.
Me too, and I'm really surprised by Tempo Storm. We have a Lily. Now, this is not as insane as it might seem at first glance, since they have also played that in the past, but they picked the map, right? I'm not crazy here.
They did
I've
pick
seen
the
it
map.
right.
Yeah,
so
that's correct.
For Warhead, just looking at this, I expected something a little bit more crazy. yes, you have Walla, you can go for camp control, you can try to play around the boss, but your opponent is now currently drafting something with several globals, heavy dive, very heavy mobility as well. So I'm a little bit worried for Tempo Storm. I expected something that is a little bit more spicy than a very traditional hybrid, double support hyper carry.
Do you feel that they were going down that path until they saw the Illidan and they were like, okay, maybe we need some blinds? Because they never went into that situation thinking, Lili's our last pick, guys, let's go.
I feel the pick was too fast.
I feel like they didn't get what they wanted here, and then they felt like we need to counter the Illidan, then I guess the map doesn't matter, and if we counter this comp, we can beat it, but I still think with the double pseudo global they have here, the lack of globals, and really the lack of solid interrupts in terms of channeling here for this team, I think they're going to struggle on their map pick.
But again, what do you pick on the last pick if you don't pick Lili? You still pick a different support, right?
Yeah. I mean, Lucio, I think, would have been a better choice to at least have some more mobility, some more movement. Rhaegar, also a good option for that sense. He can also roam the map. What do you guys think? I mean, it's a tough question.
I feel that even with another support, you might have changed the draft a little bit, but I still think the main core and the main idea of the draft would remain the same. So it's not a bad draft per se. It's just I feel CE got much better picks, and it's not what I expected when I saw, hey, Tempo Storm just picked Warhead.
It feels like the Illidan really gains a lot of power based off of the draft originally, because when you see the Brightwing Tassadar Tracer come into play, the Illidan's kind of an afterthought at that point. You think they've got their target for the Tassadar shields. The Brightwing's there just because it's Warhead, etc. But having the Brightwing there to just kind of enable everything as well is very strong.
I mean, opening it up like that allows them to go for the Tracer, arguably a big counter with the Polymorph. Same thing for Illidan as well. Illidan's really full on that in terms of Sonya and Malthael reaching that high potential, Dahaka to a degree, even Ragnaros to some extent. But, you know, I thought this would be their map. This would be their go-to.
Right.
And I thought they're going to play, you know, a quite aggressive style.
Did we just have two Valas in there?
Did that happen?
I saw that. I just wanted to ignore it, right?
I mean, I know you like Valor, but two might be a bit too much.
Yeah, exactly. Am I seeing double? Like, I don't know.
I think that what we see with this comp for Tempo Storm is just a map choice and a strategy gone wrong, gone improper. I think it can still work, certainly, but I don't think this is like a 6 strat for them. This is them just trying to counter their opponent's strategy.
The only reason I really had an argument for the Abathur would have been the fact that we've seen in North America they run the mule. You know that you know, China want to come at you with aggression, force team fights, try and snowball that takedown structures. If you do play that slow momentum game, that could have patched things up, especially with the shielding build as well to act as that hybrid support, so to speak. But I think Illidan really was the throw.
All right, thank you very much, guys. As we're ready to go into game number 1 even, I should say, Warhead Junction. Let's head over to our commentary team of Grubby and Gillyweed to find out who's moving on through this series.
Hello, everyone. Do you want to do the intro, or shall I do the intro?
I think you should do the intro.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to game number 1, indeed, Kalaris. Here we are. This is the final chance here for Tempo Storm, final chance for CE. They're both 1-1 in the group, and it's Warhead Junction.
Warhead Junction. Tempo Storm has brought us back to Warhead again. It started to fall out of favor for them a little bit in part 2, but they're pulling out all the stops just to try to get through this group stage and make it to the top 8.
And I think it's a very interesting clashing of styles. On the one hand, you have Brightwing and Illidan with the pseudo globals, but and Tassadar Tracer, very strong rotations, right? But on the other hand, you have a team that, if Illidan was first picked here, I would choose those 5 heroes to counter him. Sonya, Muradin, Lili, Ariel with the blinds, Vala very mobile, Hungering Arrow. So I really like the team fighting potential here for Tempo Storm.
Right, you are. Let's get into it. Game 1 is ready. This is still a best of 3, one final best of 3 to determine who moves on along with MVP Black to the round of 8 of the HGC Finals.
And as we load into that, we see that the blue team here on the left, CE, is going to be starting here on the left.
It is CE. They've got KTY playing Brightwing Paradise on Illidan. You've got Wind playing Johanna. Aloof will be back on Tracer, normally the support player there, but he will be rocking it out on Tracer. And finally, Tassadar played by Lokhtar.
And then on the right side, in the red, it's going to be Tempo Storm with June on Ariel, Fury on Muradin, of course. Cottonlock is going to be on Lili, Psalm on Vala, and then finally, to round things out, Caterpillar on Sonya.
So I love what you said about a clash of styles, because there is even just a theory for both teams that it's going to be different as we approach this game. Tempo Storm and North America in general like to approach Warhead Junction with just trying to take out a lane, do a lot of lane damage right away, and then transition that into an early boss. And they have the Hungering Arrow build for Bala to try to do that and get those early bosses. Generally, that has not been the style for Chinese teams on Warhead Junction, at least not the ones that I've seen in my study for this. It's been a lot more about just trying to open up the map. And for CE, trying to have an open map for Tracer, for Illidan to run around and try to get picks wherever they want to go, that'll be key.
Exactly. It's so good that you mentioned that, because CE wants exactly that. When you can't run away from Tracer and Illidan back to your defensive gates, your ramparts, that is not a good thing. Tempo Storm would rather have infinity teamfights, despite the considerable size of the map, rather than doing a kind of split push. We push top, you push bot. So CE so far have the better luck of the draw, choosing bot lane to attack, and they're getting a lot more structural damage in than Tempo Storm so far.
The first of many pole spawns goes out, weakens Fury a little bit. CE continuing that push in the mid lane, just trying to clear out as many towers as they can. And now the rotation has started to come in. This needs to be communicated to Tempo Storm in the bottom lane in time so they can back off, and it is. Som and June get back to the gates.
Now, soon enough, there will be a spawning of the objective. The nuclear warheads, two pieces. They're either mid and top, or bottom and mid. Here we have the middle and bottom nuke spawn. It's a little bit random where they spawn, but there's always two in the first phase, and the second phase has 4. Let's see how the teams play it out. Johanna is still top here. Win for CE still remaining there, getting experience advantage. Meantime, everyone is going bottom lane here for CE, trying to clinch that bottom nuke, giving away the middle one.
There will be a 1-for-1 trade on the nuke. CE's already done damage to the towers, taking them down, so maybe just trying to move up and drop this down. One thing, when I was watching SBT play on this battleground, is they were very liberal with their nukes. That's not something that Tempo Storm does, so I'm waiting to see how often CE uses nukes. Using them on structures where you might just be able to go in later on with a mercenary camp and be able to get a push, that's not ideal. Tempo wants to hoard their nukes as best they can and use them on things like keeps and, of course, the core.
And that's a higher risk and higher reward play.
True.
Holding on to nukes means you could lose them. They could fall into the hands of your opponent, but holding them on can gain greater value. In Hero League, you'll often nuke exactly in the middle between the opponent's gate and frontal fort, getting nearly the 2 towers down, which is an easy value play, but it is fairly low value. The center of nuke has double damage, and you'll be entirely missing out on that if you play it that way. Of course, in competitive play, you can afford to be more greedy, because there's going to be less random stuff happening. Thus, holding on to them, you can take some serious fort damage in your opponent's forts. Very early boss attempt here by Tempo Storm, but it gets sniffed out immediately by Paradise.
Yeah, this is extremely early for Tempo Storm. Haven't even brought down the fort in the top. It's been sniffed out, but all CE are doing are using this time and this dedication of resources for Tempo Storm to push in the bottom. They use their nuke. They're working on taking out that first fort of the game.
So there's only 2 members available here for CE. They're definitely not going to try and contest it. And like you said, they take down that bottom fort. They used 1 nuke for it, and they did the rest with the Hellbat pressure and the minion wave. Now, let's fast forward and see what this nuke, what this boss is going to be getting. It's a pretty early game boss, so it's fairly weak. If you don't push alongside with it, it'll do almost nothing. But the thing is, they are pushing alongside with it, with all 5 members.
Yeah, they need to make sure that they can even out the structural damage, but it's the benefit of the global for CE already coming into play by having that Brightwing still pushing in the bottom lane. We're looking at nearly a level advantage for CE.
Yeah, but keep in mind, this is the map choice for Tempo Storm, Warhead Junction, their choice. They're deliberately 5-manning here. At any time, they could adjust their position right away, but they're giving up mid and bottom lane XP. Now, they're a level down, but not a talent down, so they can take a full-on fight. So long as Brightwing, Tassadar, Tracer didn't come back, they feel safe. And they're pushing in on the keep here. Will this pay off? This was a very high-risk, high-reward play.
Here comes Lockjar in, dropping down the storms and the damage. Tempo Storm staying here, and the keep's about halfway down. Boss is still sieging on that. Tempo Storm are all in and being able to take out a keep. They saved their nuke for this point. They got the boss to the point. They are not walking away without a keep if they can help it. They push back in one final time, and they bring down the keep 5 minutes into the game.
And look at that XP, Gilly. exactly. Now, of course, forts are pocket XP. If you kill all of each other's forts, you'll eventually be granted the same amount of experience from it. So getting it doesn't mean that you're ahead in XP forever. But temporary advantages and now catapults, that is so good. And with that XP that they have right now, with their own keep still being entirely safe, Tempo have made up the XP differential, the sacrifice they made. Giving up 2 lanes, getting it like a keep this early on, 5 minutes, it totally paid off. Tempo Storm is playing this map in a very special way. That was such a cool move.
It is the Tempo Storm style, the strategy that they have been using on Warhead Junction for a long time. Even setting up in a way as they retreat, they've already picked up 2 of the 4 warheads they've spawned on the battleground. Now, CE are closer to getting heroic abilities, but Tempo Storm are trying to zone it as best they can. Iron Skin was used to get a shield player into position to stall out. That's enough of a stall finally that CE are far too close to heroic abilities, and Tempo will have to be okay with the 2 nukes, but 2 is still fantastic as they retreat.
Yeah, exactly. Tempo Storm is asking, will you do your due diligence? Will you be cancelling out this 3rd nuke, or are we chewing off a little bit too much? They chew off too much, but they pull back in time and they don't lose any heroes here. Will now be looking to get their level up. But there's been an incredible concentration, a population density here for Tempo Storm. Sonya went to the top lane for just a bit, 1 wave, and then is coming back already. Tempo Storm groups up a lot. And this is how they're trying to solve the greater mobility that CE has by forcing really relevant map objective fights with all 5. Now going for Testadar, that's Dimensional Shift, 30-second cooldown.
Was used. Fury still chasing after heroic abilities there for Tempo Storm, and they were trying to see if they could keep some of the members of CE around so they could get a pick from that. Not seeing that. Instead, they will turn around and set focus to the boss in the bottom lane, ready for more siege.
Now, Gilly, the only boss controls on the side of CE, they have Emerald Wind. That's it. So Tempo Storm needs to win a fight before killing the boss. This is very risky play. Somehow they need to jump in as Emerald Wind comes out.
There's the 1 nuke. Tempo Storm go forward all the way onto CE's side of this boss. Fury dives onto the point. The boss is down. Nukes flying out. Crystal Aegis has been used.
Tempo
Storm takes down Johanna, and they'll claim the boss.
Well controlled here by Tempo Storm, using the enemy's nuke against them, allowing the nuke of CE to finish off the boss, moving off the point. The jump in by Fury, Dwarf Toss on the boss point, and then their own nuke to solidify the deal. Tempo Storm, once again, the 2nd boss of the game with really good control.
Tempo Storm seems angry that they were put into the position where they had to fight for their lives 2 series in a row. They will get a 2nd boss, take down the fort. They only used 1 nuke, and as you see, 2 were used by CE at that point, and that's what I talk about. Tempo never overuses their nukes, and that lets them continue this push forward.
That's discipline right there. Only using 1 nuke, even in the most harrowing of situations. Having the confidence, knowing that that will be enough. You pointed it out, and it is so true. Using the 2nd nuke here to open up that keep wall. Bit of damage on the keep. And shouldn't overstay too much. Tempo have massive structural advantage. They have momentum. They have the only kills of the game. There's keep damage there. And they're also finally ahead in experience.
As we reset the battleground somewhat, CE sending their global up to deal with the top lane and the catapults that have amassed there. We have seen this now for a 2nd time, this more auto-attack focused build from Tracer. Bullet time. We also see the Untouchable trying to build up stacks. What's been your experience with this build before?
I mean, it's great pub stomper. That means, of course, easy in open games where maybe some of the players are a little bit more random or lower rated. Every time you get a kill, you get bonus auto attack damage. And it can work at pro play as well. But the situation right now is that Tracer has 0 stacks on that talent.
No stacks yet. See if maybe Ricochet at 13, that was the pick before, is enough to change things around. That might be a stack. Psalm's pretty low. Crystal just used Fury jumping back and will spawn not. There it is. Vala is brought down, and there's your first stack for Tracer.
Not worth a heal, says June. Probably gonna die anyway. Had a full energy bar. I don't know if out of cooldown or maybe judging that it was going to be too much damage anyway. I think that's a fair assessment there in that situation. Still 1 nuke under control by Tempo. It's not all lost. Mosso nuke will be going over to CE. And we should continue to see this. CE, even when they're down a little bit in XP, they should be able to get that back in short order. But for tempo, it's all about these fights here at the boss.
This boss. When you see this early boss play, it sets your opponents on a timer, and now Tempo Storm are calling CE on that. CE may have gotten that kill on Bala, but this boss is dropping very quickly. How much is CE dedicate? Johanna's gone. She's gone. Nice. Tempo Storm with that. The Detainment Strike, the follow-up. They got the synergy. They take down Wind, and that is going to guarantee this boss.
You know, Gilly, I have this feeling that only now CE says, oh, okay, this is entirely about the boss.
Yeah.
You've seen it once, you've seen it twice, but if you see where Tassadar Tracer were as this boss was started, if you do the math, they were all the way at the bottom lane of the map. I feel like it's only now dawning upon them, but the realization comes too late.
Yes, and that's part of what makes these events where we get all these metas together in one. Obviously, CE has done their homework, but they might not have expected this. Now we see the Emerald Wind going down. Pulse Bomb hits, immediate Crystal Aegis to try to stall that out. June is still alive.
The Lily heals are very real, but she's dropping low. Vala goes down there, but it's a quadruple kill. That went fast. And the boss is still 80%. There's still a nuke. Tempo Storm with 8 takedowns to 2. And with their special strategy, CE unable to adapt on time. The core gets nuked and the core goes down. Tempo Storm take their first map victory against the Chinese team of CE.
Tempo very excited, super excited about that win. Som is on his feet, out of his chair, and the relief is palpable. It's gotta feel good for Tempo Storm. They lost the first game versus Deadly Kittens. They had already lost the whole series to CE. Finally now, they are one game away. They're the ones who are on top in a series.
Be careful though. This was a very strategic and well-practiced, well-honed, disciplined victory here on a special map, Warhead Junction. You cannot carry over what you've done here to the next battleground. A little joy is allotted, but you don't want to overdo it. It's still CE. They just lost 2-0 to them. They're going to be taken to a different map. We will see which one it's going to be.
Well, before that, let's check back in with the analysts and see what they thought about the NA flavor of Warhead Junction.
That's right, a strong victory there for Tempo Storm in game number 1, being able to kind of overcome the previous series that we saw from them against CE. But I think we were discussing it very, very heavily here whilst we were watching that game. At this level of competition, we're quite surprised that CE did not identify the strategy that was going to be coming along, Caldo.
Yeah, it was a little bit shocking that they didn't realize what was happening in the game. We said in the draft already that one of the advantages of Tempo Storm is control of bosses and of camps. And I can understand the impulse that as the first boss is taken, you're saying, hey, I'm getting value on 2 lanes.
Yeah.
You can take the boss, I don't mind that. But they didn't even react to the push towards the keep. It's absolutely fine to sacrificing the fort, but at that point already you could tell that they don't really understand how strong that boss is. So they lose the keep. And what blew my mind was that at the last boss, we have Tracer Tassadar showing at the bot lane. You have lost your top keep. Your opponent holds 2 nukes. You need to understand that you can't lose the top boss again. And then seeing with 2 globals in the game, they're non-globals at the bot lane. That just shows me they have no idea what's going on there.
That was a moment where I think everyone at the desk here realized I don't think CE gets it. Because there were some moments they made, I think that were somewhat coincidentally looked like, okay, maybe they didn't know how to counter this. They got too greedy in that first push like you were talking about, and then they didn't have their heroes at the top. They didn't have vision either, and it was only after Johanna physically saw that they were at the boss did they actually rotate up. So Wynn's like, hey guys, we need you up here, but they need to be going up earlier. And I agree with Grubby, though, at the same time. I think for this map, very good strategy, almost a little bit cheesy, you could say. But I think err on the side of caution if you're a Tempo Storm fan, because this series is definitely not over.
I just think they've never seen this. That's at least how it looked there. Like, we have seen it in North America, we have seen similar ideas in Europe, and just from the reaction that we had from them, I don't think they've ever seen this idea behind Warhead Junction.
Skimmy?
I mean, it just felt once again accentuated by the ideas of this, CE going for globals and the utilization, as you were saying. Brightwing should be here, Illidan should be split pushing there, but like you said, times with Tracer and Tass were doing it, you're thinking, well, now you can't contest. Johanna face checking, has to use the Iron Skin very early on. gets popped just like that. But I mean, it was like the second boss control as well. They go in, you're thinking this is fantastic. There's a nuke on either side. They can actually try and make an attempt at this. The nuke comes down far too early. They try and go into the point. Fury says, thank you very much. Stun, the controller's there, double support ultimates. There's nothing they can do. The boss gets picked up for free. Once again, you've got that split pressure, which I was saying at the very start. You've got those pushing potentials. You got to keep it 5 minutes. You look for a second one later on. And map control really was all in favor of tempo.
All right, well, of course, we have to find out what our second battleground is going to be here in this series as CE tries to salvage the situation. It's going to be Tomb of the Spider Queen, and once again, it's Tempo Storm's choice.
Yeah, and at this point, of course, it also means that we have first pick on the side of CE, and this is a battleground that they are going to be way more familiar with. So I think they should feel more confident on this map.
Yeah.
But the first game must come to them as a bit of a shock. And of course, there's a lot of momentum for Tempo Storm right now. At this point, if you have another trick up your sleeves,
that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That would be it.
Yeah,
fantastic position for them.
I think that, to be honest, one of the things, we talk about the lack of identifying the strategy for CE. I was pretty disappointed with the Brightwing play as well in moments like boss control, how greedy Brightwing was split pushing, who she was deciding to phase shift onto. I think the Brightwing play, even though it looked actually pretty good against MVP Black in this situation, maybe they were flustered, but either way, I think their Rhaegar Lucio is much stronger than their Brightwing play overall.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. And we had that idea of that, you know, the phase shift would come in onto Tracer, either that or the Illidan, the shield from Tassadar as the insurance policy thereafter, and things would be good to go. But it wasn't to be the case. And, well, then we go to a bit more of a skirmish-heavy map. It is Tomb of the Spider Queen. This should really pander to the idea of what CE want to do.
All right, game number 2 here. Tempo Storm 1 game away from qualifying on to the round of 8 and Blizzcon. And if they're able to do that, a lot of people came into this group 50-50 on who could advance on, but for Tempo Storm, that will be a huge result.
Yeah, definitely. And at the beginning of the group, when the first few matches were played out, it really looked to me as if CE was way stronger. Now, as we said, they struggled to realize what was going on the first map, so that puts Tempo Storm in the driver's seat. And now, all of a sudden, CE is faced with a situation that is difficult to handle. You know that one single map loss and that's it. So right now there's a ton of pressure on them, and let's see how they deal with it.
Yeah, and not only that, they were preparing, waiting for this match, watching Tempo Storm show so many different strategies in the previous series. Now they've shown a completely different one. You've got one life left, and momentum has totally shifted. The driver's seat is definitely Tempo. So we saw him on camera there, but actually here in the studio, he was standing up and screaming, let's go, let's go. So momentum is totally in Tempo Storm's court right now, and if they can carry that in, I think a 2-0 is the only way they win this best of 3, to be honest.
The best way to look at that is Psalm, especially out of all players in North America, I think is probably on parallel with someone like Glaurung, who is fueled by emotion. And when he gets hyped, the entire team gets hyped around him.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a leader in that way, and he's the player who plays these high-skill heroes and obviously has a large hand in these strategies they've made. So I think the team could definitely get behind this. We're going to see them going back to the Malthel pick, though, from the first series against CE. So going back to quote-unquote more standard play instead of taking an odder strategy like we saw against Deadly Kittens and in that first game here in this series as well.
I actually wouldn't be too surprised here, given that we've seen in the past when they've gone off against the Malphite, they've either picked the Lucio or the Rhaegar. Yes, they've gone for the Oriole in that first rotation. Wouldn't be unopposed to actually securing at least one, because you'd imagine the other would be either banned away or taken. And that way you have that security against the Malphite to make sure that when he does go in with that Tormented Souls, hey, you do have a way to swing favors back in your side of the court.
Now, the one thing with Rhaegar, what we've seen with Malthael a few times now is already that thanks to the level 7 talent, you can really hurt any kind of ancestral attempt in that front line. So that's a bit of a problem that you sometimes have. Rhaegar, it's himself, thanks to the wave player and all that AoE heal, is still fantastic. We could see Lucio if they want to go a direct count against Malthael, as we have seen before. But for the bot lane, first of all, what we're seeing is Sonya to have that direct matchup with Malthael himself. And I actually love that we have Tyrael in here, because that's what especially Wolf can talk about.
Yeah, and we see
the Korean and Chinese meta, Tyrael is just absolutely like a huge staple.
He's so strong with Sonya, and he's also very strong against Malthael when he goes for his Tormented Souls. You can completely nullify that damage. Yeah. And another hero he's very strong with that can work with a double support Ariel is the Greymane. It's not this go-to with Ariel. Don't think of Greymane as a battery. So it might seem counterintuitive to actually ban the Greymane in this case, with the Ariel being the main support here that you've picked in your first rotation. But I think given the comp they've now built around, I think the Greymane is a very strong damage dealer for CE.
Yeah, Tempostorm on the other hand, they don't really want to deal with Lucio again. Malthael is just too hard kind of bite, and already you have Tyrell on the other hand. That Ana is being banned out, I don't think comes as a surprise to anybody anymore against Tempostorm, especially with Malthael in the mix. You don't want the nano boosted Malthael just ripping through your backline, so Ana immediately taken out by CE here. And Tempostorm, now let's see what the damage is going to look like. First of all, utility through Malfurion, decent wave clear as well. Fantastic hero in particular for this map.
Do you think they'll take the Greymane here? I mean, they didn't ban it, but it certainly could work with their composition. He's got good wave clear, good siege, works very well with the objective.
I mean, I feel you have to go double support with this, so I would take the second support and they go.
Do you think they're going to go Kerrigan again? If you look at that comp.
Yeah. You could. I mean, they played something similar already. One of the good things about Kerrigan, normally you would expect a range damage dealer, but if you go Kerrigan, you take pressure away from Malthael, and that allows him to ram rampant. Then again, it depends a little bit, I feel, on what CE picks now in terms of damage, because the one thing that worked well for Tempostorm when they used Kerrigan against Deadly Kittens was that there was no great poke hero against a massive frontline.
Right.
And if now all of a sudden we see those poke heroes coming in for CE, then Tempostorm would probably be hesitant to pick Kerrigan here since they could be poked down quite easily from a distance.
The one potential downside, of course, as well, is that sanctification on the other side. That kind of hurts.
I still want to go back to the Greymane pick here. I think if you go for Quicksilver bullets and you take a more distanced approach to this, I think he's a fantastic answer to what Tempostorm has brought here.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you mobility. It means you don't necessarily have to jump into the threat of what Malfurion offers with the Root, with the Twilight Dream, and make sure that, when you're in that Worgen form, you do get taken down just like that. But they run it straight away back. They go back with that Oriole hyper carry for the Vala. They've got the Tesla as well. A little bit more comfort picks, it seems, right now for the C. Yes, not the Greymane, but the Vala still works in the same fashion. We saw a multi-shot actually earlier today, but it still feels like to me, especially from an aggressive team, they want to go for the Hungering Arrow, find that burst and get that kill.
I would not want Kerrigan with this. I think there are way too many tools that could be used. The whip on Oriole alone is already one thing that can really just push Kerrigan back if she tries to engage. You have Vala with the Rain of Vengeance later on, who can literally hit Malthael, Kerrigan, and a Muradin if you would.
Oh, they're going to do it, man.
But they do it.
No,
I mean, it can. Don't get me wrong. It can work. Yeah. But I really think that what CE has, if they play their cards right here, is going to make it way, way harder for Tempostorm than what they experienced against Deadly Kittens.
Yeah, I agree. And, Deadly Kittens, I think, didn't deal with it very well, But even if you know and you've already seen this, it doesn't make it any easier to play against it if you've never practiced against it.
So what I think Tempostorm has to do is again, they need to dominate the early game. Yeah. Because once that Sanctification is in play, and once that we have Rain of Vengeance on Vala, it's going to make it incredibly difficult for any proper engage. Also, since Tacita, if they feel they don't need the extra damage, you could go into a force wall and then you can just section people off.
Trap the Kerrigan who comes in at you.
Exactly. Kerrigan, Muradin jump in, you trap the rest out, and you say thank you very much, that's for dinner. So the early game is really where Tempostorm has to push it through.
Give me your thoughts.
The biggest thing for me really to take away, but the sort of difference between this series and the one against DK was that there's no cleanse this time around. So yes, you can make the argument there's a lot of defensive cooldowns between Oriole, Tyrael, Testa, and Vala to shut things down if the sort of snowball that Tempostorm are after doesn't come about. But the cleanse, we saw it time and time again. There would be the Kerrigan combo, there'd be the Root underneath as well. Everyone would pile on in and the kill would be acquired. But without that, that could be the driving force that allows them to snowball pre-10.
Also, another factor is really when we talk about, hey, they need to be careful in the early game. Well, if you give the early game up, then your opponent gets the early turn and then gets snowballed to a second. So you can't just simply sit tight and wait for 10 because that's going to be an issue too. So Tempostorm definitely has options here, but CE is going to make it way more difficult than Deadly Kittens did.
Thanks very much, gentlemen. Time now to head over to game number 2. Will Tempostorm's Kerrigan carry them through here on to Blizzcon in the round of 8? We're about to find out.
Hello and welcome back here. Gilly and myself are excited to bring you that second game with that Kerrigan comp once again. Kerrigan.
Yes, the Circle of Death Part 2 for Tempostorm. They did it versus Deadly Kittens when they were down and out.
Twilight Dream, Maelstrom, Tormented Souls, lots of Circles of Death. But this time, there's a counter circle, wax on, wax off, Sanctification from Tyrael.
Sanctification will be there. There's also a Crystal Aegis if one person is the immediate target with a Kerrigan combo. But what do you think? What do you think about this composition coming back in for Kerrigan? You and I were thinking more that it might be the Kel'Thuzad,
Yeah, Kel'Thuzad would have looked pretty good as well. There is no cleanse, so you don't have that button where you can remove the displacement and the stuns, but I think it is still possible. I look at that and I say, yeah, I would play Kerrigan against that, but it is a little bit more difficult than before.
Well, let's see if Tempo Storm can do it, or if CE will bring us back to Game 3 as we head on in to Tomb of the Spider Queen for Game 2.
Our hero on the left side fighting for their tournament life. They're down 0-1 in this best of 3, lose, and they are out. It's CE. We've got Paradise on Sonya, Loktar on Vala. He's the substitute player for CE. And we've got KTY on Tassadar, Elufu on Ariel, and Wind on Tyrael. And my, oh my, what a pleasure to watch Wind on Tyrael.
Yeah, I'm so excited that we get another Wind Tyrael play, but I'm excited for this team too. It is Tempo Storm, with Psalm playing Kerrigan, Caterpillar playing Malthael, June will be playing Uther, Fury on Muradin, and finally Cawthon Luck back on Malfurion. Cawthon's Malfurion, that was something that was new that they brought into this tournament before, usually on his secondary supports, playing things like Tassadar, Brightwing too, Lily, of course, we've seen that too, but it's been great to see them be able to integrate more supports into their repertoire.
And Ana got banned by CE. Ana has that mana-giving heroic nano boost, as well as the cooldown reduction on abilities. Malfurion has that, a small version of it in the interface. So that's pretty cool on Malthael and Kerrigan as well.
Yeah, that was another reason why I was thinking maybe we would see the Kel'Thuzad for Psalm, but still being able to have a lot of combos, that'll help too, as Psalm jumps in for one of those. Pulling in, got the roots underneath now. This is Vala who has been hit, but the double support staying strong of CE.
So talking about that Kerrigan once again, because it is such an unusual pick, speaking about what's good for her and what's bad, Kerrigan has really good wave clear, she's got great pick-off potential, and if you are better and play better than your opponent, Kerrigan is one of the best heroes you could possibly have. If you're equally matched, it can be a little bit tougher. Dodging her combo, if you don't hit her combo, she is a very risky hero. Once you jump in, you're in trouble. But that's why we've got Uther, of course. Giving that armor, Divine Shield later on, it's a great way to cover for her weaknesses.
To me, what has seemed to stand out for Tempo Storm, as we look at all of the series that they've played today, compositions that allow Psalm to sort of dictate when the aggression takes place, when they go into a team fight, generally seems to be going well for them. When they play their Kerrigan, when he was on Kel'Thuzad. These heroes, yes, they're also unorthodox, and maybe that's part of it, that they're new, but it does seem like when Psalm is able to say, this is the point that I want to go in, and this is the point that Wind wants to go in, Psalm dives back forward, though, with a little juke to get caught back out. But yeah, it seems like it's Psalm.
It's a great point, because it takes away part of the responsibility from your main tank.
Right.
From Fury. It allows Fury to play a little bit more conservatively, which I feel fits him a lot better.
Same.
Love him on Muradin and Johanna. He plays those very stably, very textbook. And then Psalm, who is a bit more aggressive, just in his character as well, you know? He can do that. Kel'Thuzad, Kerrigan, what do they have? A lot of stunts.
Right.
So it makes sense. Stunts, displacement, he can help out with that. Now Kerrigan with the combo. Misses it. Gets the minion wave. Still a lot of damage on Vala. Vala trying to get away. Fury jumps in, and they confirm the kill. Tempo Storm, first blood.
Great communication from Tempo Storm as they went down to the mid. Caterpillar came up for the flank. Even though the initial combo may not have been a success, they had the root underneath, and that was enough to get Caterpillar in the position when he was able to get the Reaper's Mark on it. And once the Reaper Mark is on you, it's very hard to get away from death because of Wraith Strike and how he can jump in on top of you.
Exactly, and you know, you may wonder, how did Malthael get to the mid lane so fast? I know it's a small map. Just how fast can he get there? Well, he's got on a pale horse. He's got 20% bonus movement speed on his mount, his level 1 choice. No one really takes this, but he does. Here we go with another fight, 1 for 1. Uther goes down. That means lots of healings in that undying form. Paradise nearly dies there. Vala, and once again the Wraith Strike, and Sonya as well. Why not? Throw in Tyrael for good measure.
Psalm was all over that fight, jumping on top of everybody. Gets in with the combo.
30
Now
gems!
they've caught Tassadar.
What is Tassadar doing here?
30 gems. KTY comes out of Dimensional Shift, but gets back in time. That would have been catastrophic for CE. It's already bad enough.
Wow, Tassadar with the 30 gems, with the tail between the legs. I don't know if Pro Tours have tails, actually. But anyway, it's a tale of analogies here anyway. CE gets away with those gems, but Tempo Storm will get the turn in. Let's look at that fight once again. Resets. Genji, who? How about Kerrigan? Boom, with the Ravage, getting the kill. Jumping after them here with the combo. Getting that Vala there, taking her down. Ravage reset, and on Paradise. Auto attack, finish her off.
Yeah, and between Caterpillar and Psalm, this mobility, there's no keeping Vala safe in the backline, it seems, even with these two strong frontliners of Tyrael and Sonya. As long as Reaper's Mark is there, Kerrigan doesn't even need the Reaper's Mark, she can get in. But as long as she's there, they have this ability to teleport anywhere and get on top of the target that they want. It doesn't allow CE to choose and say, hey, this person stays safe because we have the frontliners in front, you have to attack us.
We have Uther still holding his level 7 talent. June, not sure if he wants to get Cleanse, Guardian of Ancient Kings, and he's waiting for a talent here. Which one is he waiting for?
Is he waiting for 10? Does he hold it all the way to Judgment?
Oh, he wants to see if Leap and Judgment are going to happen,
yeah.
I guess. Well, he goes with Hand of Protection now anyway. The wait is over. Very special build anyway from June here with the Hammer of the Lightbringer at level 1. More stuns, more mana from auto attacks. Burden of Guilt at level 4. Electing not to go for the wave clear, but a little bit of... wait, it's not...
Is that Pursuit?
Yeah, the Pursuit of Justice.
Yeah.
Increasing his own movement speed, not slowing down an opponent, yeah. So he wants to catch up and do a lot of auto attacks.
Yeah, we saw him all the way up in front. He wants to be a member of the front line just as much as Caterpillar, Psalm, and Muradin are anyway. We might even see Malfurion up there once he gets Twilight Dream and Ice Block later on. But Tempo Storm gets that first Web Weaver phase. He gets some structural damage done, and they have a little bit of time until they'll have heroic abilities and can set up for the next turn in, but don't quite have the gems to get that just yet.
All right, if CE could have a turn in, the question is, would they even want to? It would be kind of a time-buying mechanic, trying to catch up to level 10, but there's no way that CE could push with the objective not having level 10. So ideally, CE would love to get to level 10 without letting either team pay. Now, Tempo Storm, they still need about 8 gems or so to get their turn in. So if CE can maybe get a Bruiser Camp, create a bit of space, deny turn-ins, that would be ideal for them. But for Tempo Storm, they've got level 10. They need to flip the switch. It's a little bit too long to wait for a turn-in right now. I'd love Tempo. Yeah, get this camp, very nice. And then converge on a location, try to get a kill or maybe some push.
Yeah, do some damage to a fort later on, so once you do get a turn in, you can make sure that you are getting the most out of those Web Weavers. That looks like what they're doing in the bottom lane. Fury's even going to check out and see that CE is on their bruiser point.
Wow.
And frankly, you just can't be here. He takes the bruisers away. And the threat of more members joining is enough to scare CE off the point.
Yeah, sometimes that one warrior represents additional reinforcement. Even when they're very far away, they know Malthael has on a pale horse. He's going to be there anytime soon. So they give up the bruiser camp. Cool move there by Fury. But has it been enough? We had a 1.5 level lead for Tempo. They will get the turn in, but they've allowed CE to catch up with level 10. Still, good value though. You steal the bruiser, you get the fort.
Especially since stealing the bruisers for CE up, which then allowed Tempo to push even harder in that bottom lane with the giants that they got. So that fort is done, it's forfeit, and that gives a little more experience for Tempo to try to get to the 13 tier, far and ahead of CE. And now there's more Web Weavers, so Tempo can focus on these final 2 forts, bringing those down, and then just running rampant around the map, looking to see where they can get picks with their hard crowd control style strategy.
Psalm is going to keep his eyes open here for the exact moment where he wants to jump in, and I like this. Ravage, jump in, don't use your combo. Don't want to use it too fast. A lot of such fake moments, it's like the boy who cried wolf. Danger, danger, danger. It's always a joke, people don't believe it anymore, and when the wolf finally comes, everyone's asleep and doesn't believe it anymore. That's how you want to play as Kerrigan. Jump in again, no combo. And then suddenly, combo out of nowhere. Very nice moves here by Kerrigan, but it's on. Here we go.
Sanctification was used, but not really an enabling point, and all that did was allow Tempo Storm to move back, but it did stop them for a bit. Crystal Aegis to let them live through Psalm on top of them, but Tyrael was out in front, and he will go down. Archangel's Wrath doesn't bring down Psalm. Tempo Storm find yet another kill.
That was so well orchestrated and managed by Tempo. Granted, the Sanctification was a little bit far back, a little bit weird, you know, not really something you can walk forwards into and gain this oasis of safety and then forwards momentum to make use of that invincibility. It was very safe. And then Tyrael forward. He lost his 30 gems. Thankfully for CE, they did pick up those gems. Got to, fam. Locks carry. Yeah.
A little bit of maybe miscommunication about the type of carry they were talking about, but hey, it seems to be working out for Tempo Storm.
It's like that guy who picks Sergeant Hammer when you say we still need a tank.
Yeah. You talking from personal experience there?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I do it. I'm like, you mean this? And the team is like, yeah. And then I do it. Sometimes crazy wins. You know, the crazy comps always win Hero League regularly.
That is, of course, a fact that everybody knows.
Always,
sure.
100% of the time. Tempo Storm now with the boss. They do give up one turn in. Worth it?
What do you think?
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of giving away talent lead situations and giving away turn in for a boss because you don't really want to ignore 2 sets of Web Weavers. And you can't ignore a boss when the Web Weavers are defending. I feel like it forces Tempo Storm's rotations more than it forces CE. And there's 110 gems, so it's not like CE has now given away their chance to do a next turn in.
Yeah, what it does do is get some time for CE to catch up to the talent tier of Tempo Storm.
And I don't think you want to do that. I think you want to keep a chokehold on the map. Don't give away turn in or boss, and then take what you can without doing either of those things.
Well, Wynn did find a Malfurion hanging out in lane, but unfortunately for him, it's not until he gets Holy Ground at 16 that you can really segment somebody away from a team long enough to get that kill. So Koth and Luck made it back. Now Psalm might be the one to go after. No force walls here either from CE, so it's all about making sure that they can get the right catch with somebody, use Wynn's Angel's Grace that he's taken again to get into a better position for Sanctification, and then jump in with the Poison Spear of Sonya. They have a lockdown of Rain of Vengeance to follow up. They're just about to get 13 now. That might be a point for them to use all of these abilities to start getting back into this game.
They will try to get a turn in. 1 second away. Another 6 seconds to pay or so. In comes Fury. Gotta be careful. You can't get comboed here with the stun. Look at that. Wrath of the Berserker cutting in half the duration of Psalm's stun. A lot of counter damage. Keep in mind, Kerrigan is predominantly an early game hero. Blue Web Weaver CE did a good job. Kerrigan, she does scale pretty okay into the late game with a level 16 and 20 talents, but her time to shine is usually to get early game advantage. You don't want to fall behind with her because it's so important to confirm those kills with the combo. So far, that looks good for Tempo. But this could be the turnaround point if ever there was going to be one.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you feel like the advantage that they got was enough? They got all of the forts down. They got the boss to waste 50 of CE's gems, but CE were able to hold on to so many that now they have a second Web Weaver phase with which to deal structural damage now.
You know, I think it is still enough. Definitely, it's still slightly in favor for Tempo. I wouldn't say it's like a 70-30 game, but maybe 60-40. 16 is very close. You need a few minions, maybe one kill, but CE doesn't want to wait for that long. They jump in. Tyrael with the Aegis. Twilight Dream will not be hitting Tyrael because of a very timely Crystal Aegis.
Crystal Aegis was good. Tyrael's still alive and has Sanctification. They want to take this further, but for CE, it was all about equalizing out the structures if they could. Now, Paradise C, Psalm is pretty low. Rain of Vengeance, and there is the Divine Shield to let Psalm jump forward with his Circle of Death. The Tormented Souls too, but the Sanctification was just so good.
Yeah, very good Sanctification, but the Divine Shield really saved Psalm. I can't believe every member of Tempo Storm is alive.
Know.
I mean, we had Muradin here, we had Fury, we had Malthael, we had Kerrigan, everyone dropping to 5% life. June gives the Divine Shield to Kerrigan and the complete turnaround. The monster combo there with Maelstrom, with Double Strike, with Essence for Essence, the level 16 talent. And Tempo Storm only loses 2 forts to the complete turnaround fight. Tassadar once again the only victor. Tell the others of us, of our exploits. And they turn around, they get the top keep, and And now, very good situation for the boss later.
Yep, they set up for that potential boss. There's no tower standing in the way between the boss and the keep. There's also a turn-in possible now for Tempo Storm, and they have 16. They have 17 now to the 15 of CE. So this is perfect, the perfect storm for Tempo Storm to try to start taking out keeps, opening up the battle road, get those catapults pushing, use their aggressive composition to maybe take out CE.
10-1 in takedowns, 2 levels, 1 talent up, Web Weavers up a fort. Tempo Storm has everything they need to either win the game right here in the next 1 minute or so, or to get very far ahead and be so close to level 20. The Storm tier talents, then off the back of the boss to finish the game definitively. Will Tempo Storm advance? Winning the best of 3 here doubles the team's prize money. You go to top 8, but most importantly of all, Gilly, you go to Blizzcon proper.
Yes. That is the stage that every player dreams of playing on, the BlizzCon stage. That is the end goal. Tempo Storm knows that they are well on their way to getting just that. No push in the mid, so they'll turn their attention up to the top. They're drawing some of the resources of CE there, but CE don't want to lose this keep. They are desperate to get through this Web Weaver phase, but it's so hard to defend versus a Kerrigan who can come in with a combo like that.
This is level 15.9. This is very anti-timing by CE, but they feel like they can wait no longer. They think they find Malfurion, but the Divine Shield will come out to save him. Kerrigan combo misses. Malfurion goes down. This is turning sour in Tempo Storm's mouth.
Oh, amazing detainment strike 2, and that'll be the end of Uther. Psalm caught in the middle of the fray of CE, and he will fall. 4 kills for CE. Such a big momentum swing in this game for the Chinese team.
And this wasn't supposed to happen, Gilly. You do not fight at level 15.9 unless you know exactly what you're doing. I don't think Tempo Storm expected it. You look at that XP bar and you make it your holy grail, your Bible. 15.9, no. 16, yes. But CE, they saw uniquely that Malfurion was out of position. They jumped on Malfurion, on Coffin Lock, isolated him, Ice Block delayed merely the inevitable, and 2 Kerrigan combos missed in a row. So there was not enough counter threat. Even Divine Shields could not salvage that fight. And CE now, with the late game powerhouse that Sonya can be with Holy Ground, they grab the boss. And they are absolutely looking to do some serious lasting damage here. But the thing is, as much as you've been losing all game, CE does not need to be desperate. They do not need to feel desperate in their minds. Sometimes people do, but it's not needed. They don't even need a keep. After all, they have never lost a keep yet.
Yeah, they haven't lost a keep, and this is going to do more than the damage that was done to their keep. CE backs off, and I want to reiterate something that I said earlier. This is not a normal CE thing to do. Sometimes they will get panicked. They will feel like they have to take a fight, and that's the only way that they're able to win a game. But this is an evolution of this team CE. But that fight, taking a fight, pre-16 when Tempo Storm had it, that is something that CE has always been amazing at. And that is taking a fight, being willing to take a fight that looks like you should not be taking it at all, but understanding when they need to get in there, they need to do it. And that is keeping CE in this game right now. Forcing that early Divine Shield, then they didn't have it for the Malthael and the Kerrigan. It was a completely different change to the fights that Tempo Storm has had so far in this game.
Plus, it's only amazing if it works.
That's true.
If it doesn't work, it's really dumb. So
it's the winners who write history, something like that.
Yeah, the self-fulfilling prophecy.
Of course, yeah.
Winners' history books, definitely. So just to kind of elaborate on your point, Malfurion, Muradin are never allowed to need a Divine Shield.
Right.
Because that one should go to Malthael and Kerrigan. Now, Tempo Storm may have a keep almost down, but they're closer to level 20. The question is, can they manipulate the map in such a way that they can take advantage of that? It's time. Start the clock. 20 seconds and CE catches up. 15 seconds left. But Tempo Storm is showing in many different sides of the map. For what? Collecting gems. And this is nice. But it's not, it's not pulling the trigger nice. Like, really going for it. Fetching exactly what you need to fetch with that advantage.
Now they're doing it. Did take a little bit of time, but they're getting in and at least invading the bruisers, seeing if somebody from CE is here, but CE not
that
allowing.
Would be a rookie mistake.
Right, exactly.
Like, oh, let's take our own bruiser. It's on our side of the map, so it's safe.
Yeah, at this point in time, CE has to hold and get 20. They know that the momentum has swung back in their favor. They have to be patient, oh so patient. They're even really close to being able to get a turn in too. So all of these things, setting up well for them. Tempo Storm will just have to go back, turn in the gems that they have been able to get, and CE will hit 20.
Would actually be cool if Tempo only killed the gem-carrying minions. Don't kill the footmen, just the archers in the back, the spiders. Get the gems, and then keep the lanes more pushed so that CE cannot pick up their own gems as easily. Because Tempo, a little bit further away from their gems than CE is. And now the level 20 advantage has dissipated. Kerrigan gets Psionic Shift, which is a kind of Burning Rage blink, but you'll generally use it just to correct positioning that gets you killed. I don't think you want to use it to jump in. You've already got Ravage for that. So it does help her a little bit, but it's not like a huge power spike.
Still waiting to see what the level 20 is. Stormbolt stops Luful from turning in. Tempo thinking about a flank. Is redemption for Uther at level 20. Didn't know if we were going to see the increased duration. Bulwark of Light.
And then, of course, Malthael with the revive talent. He can press a button to revive instantly, but the next time, his respawn time will take longer if he dies again. Can use this once every 3 minutes. It's actually really not good to pick this talent while you're alive. Unlike Uther's Redemption, if you pick it post-mortem, you can immediately use it. So you can maintain the option to pick another talent. If anything, this shows he really, really wants this one. But he didn't need to take it yet. Anyway, it's small stuff.
At what point do you take another one, though? Isn't there just like the threat that at any point you could die?
Yeah, I could see how like you'd never want another one, but let's say if you're 5 versus 2 and you're like, oh, I'll just upgrade my ult, or I'll get the Death Shroud and get a bit more damage.
Yeah,
that will certainly help with the core all in.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe once you're on the core, then you know. I was thinking about maybe people who are thinking about branching out and playing Malthael for themselves. Give them a little bit of insight. We've got Web Weavers here at the base of Tempo Storm. And they are the blue ones for CE. Here.
Murden with the jump in, misses the Stormbolt. Sonya goes deep. Hardened Shield. Crystal Aegis, same time. That's a poor overlap for CE.
Yeah, there was the Sanctification. It was the longer one now, too. But Divine Shield is keeping Psalm alive as he pulls back in. Sonya's gone.
Tempo Storm with the kill on Sonya. She is the main source of damage here for CE. But don't forget, Twilight Dream.
He's bought back into life. June barely stays alive, throws out the Frisbee, and heals himself back up. This fort still lives. They're ready to get back into it with Cattle coming back to life and coming back to the mid lane. But a keep has fallen in the top lane. CE lose Sonya. They lose one, but they do take a keep.
Yeah, mid keep almost down. Top keep goes down because of the pressure. Twilight Archon was huge, and he's still keeping it up by attacking things, but soon he will run out of things to auto-attack. So we have a situation now where Twilight Archon is gone. Tempo Storm, no heroics right now, and they're forcing a 5 versus 4. This is incredibly risky. You don't want to know what Holy Ground can do in such quarters.
All they want is the fight. They want CE to come up here without their Sonya and make them take this fight
combo
here.
miss. The Kerrigan needs auto-attacks now
Cattle,
to get the cooldown reduction.
The Holy Ground. Caterpillar safe, Fury getting in now, Psalm coming back in, but Dimensional Shift gets Tassadar away. Sonya is back up and starting to head in here, but Crystal Aegis is forced.
And after Aegis, still out of position. Vala cannot get her way out of this. And this is still 5 versus 4 though, as Sonya is back, has Hardened Shield again. Sonya can win this fight single-handedly. Will Luful stay alive? No! Tempo Storm take down Ariel. And Tassadar.
This incredible synergy from Tempo Storm. A combo goes in. Fury jumps on top. Then Caterpillar is here. Tempo Storm have taken every single member of CE out. They go to the boss, but all they care about is taking out these members, killing CE, so they can take down this keep and they can march to the core.
And CE has fallen to chaos. Sanctification Holy Arena is available. All members of his team are dead. CE felt the need, the urgent need to dispute the boss. 4 versus 5, lost one. Again, 4 versus 5. They felt that need, but Tempo Storm controlled the chaos better, and they have done it. The revenge turnaround 2-0 against CE, the team that sent them to the lower bracket, and Tempo Storm will go to Blizzcon.
A lot of people had doubts about this North American team, not just because they lost to CE 2-0 earlier, but because they have had a tough time at every single international event this year. But Tempo Storm has always stuck together as a team. They have come back swinging after every single time that they failed, and this time they take out CE, they took out Deadly Kittens, and they get to go to Blizzcon and play in the round of 8.
Number 1 in the group, MVP Black. Number 2, Tempo Storm. And unfortunately, CE will be eliminated, as well as Deadly Kittens. There are 2 more North American teams in this tournament. Let's see if they can join their brethren in Tempo Storm. And there are 2 more Chinese teams. Let's see if they can do what CE could not in this group. Beyond the Game and SPT.
That closes it out for Grubby and I. Let's head to the analyst desk one last time.
Thank you very much, guys. Of course, that is a big, big win there for Tempo Storm. Not only getting the redemption that they wanted against CE, but also moving on to BlizzCon. Big for Tempo Storm to play on that stage. Big for North America to already confirm a spot at BlizzCon.
Yeah, it was really well played by them, especially there in the end. And Salmon Carrigan with the combos definitely carrying for them.
Yeah, very impressive.
I mean, I thought there were some really questionable sanctifications out of Wind in that game. I feel like he was the weak link. He was the strength. He was the tool they had to win those fights. We talked about it post-10. The Sank is the savior for this team.
Yep.
And it just felt like again and again and again, he just didn't hit the mark.
And to me, to further that point even further, it's kind of like the argument of like ETC and Stitches. You know, you can do nothing all game. You can whiff, you can whiff, you can whiff. One good Sank and you can win the game. And you saw the one time that they landed it really well, they crushed the fight. But as soon as it went pear-shaped, you could just see they run rampant. I mean, Sam for me had to be the MVP. Just the fact that he was able to find that value with the Kerrigan.
Yep.
They accentuate the early game. Through to that late game stage, you're thinking, oh, is Kerrigan still going to do anything? Answer is yes.
It got definitely a little bit dicey towards the end. In the early game, I would argue he was a bit too aggressive, fighting into the Kerrigan, what we talked about. Then 10 comes online. They have Sanctification. They have Rain of Vengeance. And the first Sanctification was in the middle of nowhere. Like, the fight was at the completely other side of the screen, and they still lose fights. But the one-time Sanctification hits, they get, I think, 3 to 4 kills.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that led them to a late game where they could have won it. But thanks to the buyback also on Malthael, it just allowed them the 5 versus 4 fight and all around the boss.
I think this is a story of a team that has a long-standing roster. Obviously, all 5 of them, no visa problems or anything like that, but a long-standing roster with momentum. You win the first game, you're on the streak of defeating Deadly Kittens. You had just won with the Kerrigan comp before. You're up a game in the series, and you have that momentum, and you try something. You have potential strategy you could use in game 3. And I think the Chinese team in that chaos, even though they've shown it in their own region so well, we've seen Wind is heralded as one of the best Chinese Tyraels. I think in that moment where they lost momentum and Tempo Storm had such momentum on their side, we talked about it, they're a momentum-based team. I think that's really, gameplay aside, what pushed them through to take this 2-0.
Gimme?
I was just going to say, I mean, it's just a case of they control the early game, which is their strategy. And we were asking, you know, will CE just back over and say, look, like, command it? And if that's the case, you saw actually what happened during the game. There's like a 2-level lead for the majority of that game. The biggest turnaround being that Sanctification we're talking about. That's when they turn things around. That's when they get the boss control, potentially their hand in, looking for that keep. But, you know, execution on the day. Tempo Storm take it.
That's right. A brilliant shift of gears for Tempo Storm from the start of this group to the very end of it as they prevail and are able to advance on to BlizzCon. Let's head down to the stage to hear from Tempo Storm themselves.
Thank you so much, Kylaris. And I am here with Som. Som, a very, very different demeanor from you right now than it was that last interview. I know that last game probably was a little bit closer than you wanted it to be, but how are you feeling right now?
It feels great to get out of the groups, especially with, you know, how badly we were playing earlier. We got dumpstered by CE. You know, Deadly Kittens ended us in like, what, 12 minutes? So, you know, props to my team, being able to pick it up mentally and then just turn it around. That's great.
You were just talking to me before the interview about how stressful it is to play all of your games in one day. I mean, talk to us a little bit about the mindset there. And also, I want to ask specifically about the battleground control in that first pick, Warhead Junction, and how you decided to kick off that match with that specific pick and that specific strategy.
So I understand for the viewers, it's probably less confusing and maybe a little bit more exciting playing out your entire group in one day. So I get that. I mean, it is terrifying, though. And as for the Warhead Junction and the battlefields that we picked, we just wanted to catch them off guard. We knew that, you know, we're backs against the wall. We got to pull out some strats, and, you know, we got a lot more stored.
Awesome. Well, you have a whole week ahead of you now to prepare for BlizzCon. How do you expect to spend that week? What are you and your team going to plan to focus on? How will you take advantage of that time?
We're going to have to spend a lot of this week learning more of the European and Korean meta. Many of the North American teams, as you know, we boot camped in NA. Korea and Europe bootcamp together. So they got their own meta, and we got our own like wonky little thing going on. So we're gonna have to spend more time figuring them out.
All right, well, Sam, congratulations. Enjoy your week. I can't wait to see you at BlizzCon. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, guys, just like that, Group A closes out as we have to send another team pack in. MVP Black and Tempo Storm advance to the quarterfinals for BlizzCon next weekend, while Deadly Kittens and CE have to close out their season till next year. Guys, we got much more group stage action coming at you this weekend, so please come back and join us. Tomorrow morning, we start again, 11 a.m., same time, same channel, twitch.tv/BlizzHeroes, or over on the BlizzCon site. On behalf of the cast, the crew, and these incredible teams, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. Thanks so much.